Hi, hello, this is Jules the Human here, and welcome to the JulesTheHuman Anime Hour. I'm one of your hosts, Jules the Human, and every week we go out into the world and watch a little bit of anime, and we come back here and we talk about it. And today is the first time we're going to be talking about Code Geass. Code Geass was picked out of the hat. I think it was Matt's pick, and we're going to be watching that for the foreseeable future for a little bit. We're going to be talking about the first 4 episodes of Code Geass. If you would like an anime, if you're like, man, I wish they talked about this anime, we have a giant chest of anime right here that are submissions from you, submissions from me, submissions from a bunch of people, and they're just anime that we can watch. And Matt pulls them out of the chest and we get to watch it. So 500 bits live on Twitch, twitch.tv/JulesTheHuman. You can get your suggestion in there, but I don't go on this anime journey alone. I go on it with my co-host Matt Galley. Matt, how are you this week?
Doing great. I'm very happy to be revisiting Code Geass because it is revisiting it for me. I have seen this before.
Gotcha.
This was my submission, but this was a particular submission where somebody requested that I put my favorite anime in the chest. And
Okay.
so, I mean, Code Geass has been like just a shining example of like what I want out of an anime ever since I watched it many years ago.
Okay, so that was gonna be my first question. Like, you have seen it, I have not. I knew nothing about it. I only knew the name where people talked about it vaguely. And where did this anime find you? Like, how long ago was it the first time that you watched it, and have you revisited
It
it?
was way back when I was in like middle school. A friend told me about it and I watched it. I'm I think I like might have used a torrenting service to get
Okay,
a hold of all the episodes, or like, really crappy like YouTube upload qualities way back at that time. That must
gotcha.
have been like around 2010, 2009. But this
Okay.
show is older than that because I'm pretty sure it's like 15 years old. It came out in like 2006, 2005,
Oh,
2006.
huh. Okay. Looks good. I don't know if it's like revamped or they ate, piped up the HD or something, but it does look good. You can definitely tell it's of a time where technology, we'll talk about it, because like
Sure.
the combination of the future technology is not the future that we see now. It's what the past thought the future would look like.
Yeah,
One shining thing that comes to mind automatically is the phones. The phones are still the little boop boop, but they're all like really cool and high tech. And I'm
like
like,
flip
well,
phones.
yeah, they're all flip phones, which is
Yeah.
cool. But that's what the people thought the future would look like, and it does show. I'm like, oh, this
It's
seems like
the
it should be a
it's the
little older.
future of the whole Frutiger Arrow aesthetic that
Sure.
happened back in the early 2000s. It's
Yes.
like that meets like mecha aesthetic, and they
Yeah.
have like a little baby.
And that's what Code Geass is. Claire says, so this one is Matt's fault. Understood. I,
I will take full responsibility for the journey on this one. Oh baby.
yeah. So okay, I won't. Okay, I you started it off by saying this is like your favorite anime, and like I'm not gonna say it's bad, and I won't go that far because we only watched the first 4 episodes.
Sure.
But there are some things where I'm like, okay, here, what's going on. But we got to talk about it. Episode 1, stage 1, the day a new demon was born. Code Geass. Let's go.
The supernation of Britannia conquers Japan using their nightmare frames once they hit the mainland, turning Japan into Area 11, a subdivision of the Britannian Empire. Lelouch, only a child, vows to one day destroy Britannia. Time passes, and we see Lelouch now years later as he and a friend Revel make a stop to humiliate nobility in a game of chess. Simultaneously, revolutionaries being pursued by police and Lelouch's classmates, criticizing his use of his time. Prince Clovis addresses the public on the situation with sending out his military force to deal with the problem. Lelouch and Revel cause an accident, with Lelouch taking a closer look, getting himself stuck into the cargo bay. Um, Britannian forces then arriving in an attempt to recover the device in the truck. Suzaku, Lelouch's friend from childhood, is the soldier to discover him, the device opening to show it doesn't house gas but a girl. More forces arrive, ordering Suzaku to execute Lelouch, him refusing and being executed himself. Suddenly, the driver detonates a failsafe, creating an opening for Lelouch and the girl to escape. Clovis, impatient, orders the entire Shinjuku ghetto to be destroyed in order to recover the girl. Once cornered, Lelouch is saved by the girl as she jumps in front of him, stopping a bullet fired at him. Lelouch experiences a vision where he is offered a contract and a power for accepting it, granting him the power of the king, him ordering the soldiers to fire upon themselves, realizing he now has the power to destroy Britannia.
The Code Geass. He has the code. So that's a lot. There's a lot going on. I appreciate the detail, and whenever you said it like that, it does go along with the pictures. So I kind of agree with all the pictures that you needed. But first off, and we're gonna talk about it as me. I've never seen it. Me coming into any anime like we do on the show. There's a lot going
There's
on.
a lot going
And
on.
I don't know if I was prepared for that, but I should have been prepared for that whenever they gave us the first beginning, like 2 minutes with a ton of info. Hey, by the way, Britannia did this with Japan, and now they're Area 11, and now we have these nightmare things, and then here's this other character, and all this stuff. I'm like, whoa, whiplash a little bit, and I was like, okay, I was not prepared for jumping onto the moving train. But here we are. And I think by episode 4, I'm there, but it's like a lot of information, a
it's a
lot
lot
of
of
characters.
information. Yeah.
Which can turn some people off because I think talking about episode 1 as a whole, it's a lot of stuff, but if you want to latch on to the big points that are happening, it's enough for you to stick with it. But if you don't catch on to the, oh, look, Mecha, oh, look, here's the plot, because they clearly lay out the plot here in episode 1, does a really good job of that. And it does have that aesthetic that you were talking about. So I feel like episode 1's a hit or miss. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on episode 1 about what you think if this is your first time seeing it. But for me, it was like, oh boy, here we are, because every scene there was like 4 new characters, and I'm like, who are you? And y'all are just talking, and y'all are doing them. Like, okay, this guy,
Yeah.
they're saying names, but I'm like, at a moment, there, I was like, I don't need to know your name yet. You said your name. I don't need to know your name. I know who you look like. Whatever. Just, it's not important. We got to get to it.
Specifically, I do think it is like one of the strengths and weak points of the show simultaneously. It's one of the more like little things that puts it in a corner where it's not many times that you get a story that consistently gives you a narrative from so many different points of view, because we're getting the point of view from Lelouch, and then it's like, oh, here are his friends in the schoolyard. Oh, here are these revolutionaries, terrorists, depending how you frame it,
Sure.
that are going on with this thing, and here's the actual the leadership of Area 11, the prince, so to speak, and how he's handling the situation, and it's trying to like juxtapose each of them against each other, and they're just going about their school day. Meanwhile, oh, Lelouch is over here getting put in front of a firing squad, and it constantly like gives that juxtaposition of all these different points of view, and I think it's really interesting and helps with like the world building. Like the world gets built out very quickly because of it.
Sure.
But it can be jarring and it can be information overload. I've seen this first episode, I think about 5 times. This is probably my 5th or 6th time seeing this first episode. So
gotcha.
It's like, it's crazy to me still how it's like, wow, this is definitely just a lot of information.
Yeah.
Like as I'm trying to break it down into a recap.
Sure. As a comparison to another anime, Odd Taxi, where they're just talking everything. You can't take a break. You can't take a mental break because there's so much going on. Claire says, I do like the core concept, and episode 1 was nothing I expected. I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't that. First of all, I didn't even know there was mech stuff. And when I saw the nightmare, I was like, okay, cool. I'm down for that. I mean, it's not as like developed as a Gundam, but like this is sort of cool. I'm like, okay, I'm down for this introduction of this new technology here in this.
It's definitely like a Gundam Light.
Sure.
With how nimble, and how
Yeah,
nimble the frames are. They're definitely scaled down
kind
more
of
like
like Titans
yeah, kind of kind of like Titans. but
when they fall from the sky.
but it's really cool to be able to see like how they introduced the nightmare concept in the first episode, but
Mhm.
then or I'm sorry, in like the first couple
Intro,
shots.
yeah.
But then even into the first episode, we see that like there's a little bit of like an arms race going on, where like there are different tiers of nightmares, and the
Yes.
show gets more into that as we move forward.
Especially with the one that gets introduced later. Um, so we get introduced to a lot of different characters. I do want to talk about the intro song. I love the song. I love the intro.
one
Really
of
cool.
one of
Vibey.
the best intros to bless anime. Excuse me.
Yeah.
There are people that will make an argument for it to this day, for sure. I'm me being one of them.
Mhm.
It's so good every
It's pretty
time
good.
when
I dig
those
it. I also like the end. The end
I
of
don't
the
know if
episode.
it's trumpets, I don't know if it's which particular horn instrument it is, but
Sure.
when those start blaring, it's like
There was a lot of trumpet as well, and I do got to talk about the music in a little bit. But Claire says I quite liked how the frames a couple of generations old are entirely outclassed. It feels a lot like military technology with fighter planes. True. I do love, like I was saying, I love the blend of new and old technology, because while we have the nightmares, we still have a train system or a tram system. We do have these uh I don't know, like it does make sense. Like the world built is makes sense to me, because they are taking over this Japan, but they're, not fully in it. And they also have these collective of people that still want to be kept as Japan, the 11s, and they are trying to overtake this Japan so that to bring the new technology and stuff, but it's not fully there. So we do get
mhm,
the clashing of styles,
good.
and I like that. I like how there's some new, some old, and then a lot of rubble, a lot of city and all that stuff. So I like the setting, and I love the world built so far. So we get into it 7 years after the war. We meet Lelouch. Uh guess that's how you say his name. We meet a bunch of different characters. We get some information how they just I like it does it too much, I think. But I dig it. And it makes me think, but it also means like somebody that's on a lower anime watching level for than me probably won't like it. But I'm down for you just saying, "Oh, the 11s. Oh, the so and so. Oh, this talking around a subject and then showing the thing. And then talking around something else and then showing the thing and have me connect. Oh, that's what they were talking about. Oh, that's what they mentioned. Oh, that's what they so I'm bridging the gaps on my own. They do that the entire time, and I'm okay with it, but some people might not like that, because it's a lot of like, I'll give you an example where like um Matt sends me the email with all the little photos for the podcast, and you see me getting the email, whatever, downloading the photos. You see the Discord saying something, and you're like, "What's happening?" And they're like, 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and it's like, what's happening? And then podcast, and it's like, oh, they were talking about the pod they were gonna do. That's pretty much what all these episodes are, because they're like talking around things, and then they show you the thing, and I'm like, okay, cool, 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 and then they go breakneck speed.
They
um
they do a lot of that. They do a lot of tell then show,
yes.
so to speak. Yeah, it's a lot of setting themselves up for reveals. And there's like how Suzaku is never even introduced by name. But we see him in the first opening shots with the Lelouch as they're like climbing the little hill. That was Lelouch and Suzaku in their childhood, but the show never like explicitly tells you that. It shows you that, and then it tells you later, oh, this is Suzaku, their childhood friends, blah 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 blah. And it does stuff like that too. It'll do show then tell, or
Hmm.
it does a lot of bouncing around. And narratively too, sometimes they'll intersparse those different points of view at different times that can make the pacing seem really jarring. But
Yeah,
like again, upon a rewatch, it's just like I'm biting my tongue on a lot of like plot points that are
sure.
honestly even just being shown off in this first episode.
Hmm.
um but it's just it's really satisfying. I can remember the show being incredibly satisfying, how it brings everything back together. And that's the one thing that I remember most about this show is how smart it made me feel for just paying attention to everything that it was trying to do. It like
Gotcha.
not all the plot threads get completely closed and answered, but it all at least comes back around full circle from what
Claire,
I remember.
for sure. Claire says, I feel like I'm down for everything, but then they add, and they're all at school together, and my ability to suspend disbelief just fails. That is a part of the thread where I'm just like, I don't need this part. I don't need the part where they're in school. I don't need the part that Homegirl shows up at the school. We'll talk about that when that happens, but I'm just like, that's the lowest rung of the storyline that I'm watching right here. Duke Donut says, shit, I wish I could stick around here right now because I just finished R1 of Code Geass, probably episode 1, and loved it, but I'm working. Hope it's a great stream, lad. See you, Duke Donuts. By the way, Kaylin is best girl. If you mean my girlfriend, Colin? Oh, not my girlfriend. Do you know Colin?
One other thing I keep meaning to ask, did you watch this subbed or dubbed? And I'm sure you watched it subbed, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is I do make a case for watching this show in dubbed. It makes every performance feel so Shakespearean, and it makes it like they ham up their lines so much and give so much to their performances that I think can be lost in the translation. As I was getting the screenshots together, for some reason in the dub the subtitles don't show up, so as I was getting the screenshots together I went back to sub so the subtitles would show up for screenshots. And yeah, there's just a lot of lines where I'm just like, that doesn't hit the same. But there are some lines where I was like, that was kind of goofy in English, but it sounded better here. Like when Colin jumps off the truck and she says in the sub, you all know how dangerous this thing is. Perfect. Good line. In English, she goes, you know all full well how dangerous this bad mother is, or something like that. Like little cringe, but I appreciate the performance.
Yeah.
So stuff like that.
Gotcha. Well, then I might switch. Yeah, I'm down for that. I want to see that. I want to season 1. Also, yes, Johnny Young Bosch is lelouch Britannia. Claire says it just works much better for me if they were young nobles. Yeah, I feel like they're going to get away from that at the beginning, or they're going to get away from that. Hopefully, the story gets away from it.
The story does get away from it as time goes on, but it's like the fact that like I think it showcases certain points. Again, the juxtaposition of like how the Shinjuku ghetto looks versus how their school looks. They're going to like this pristine school where it is nobles. I'm pretty sure it's only like, well, nobles being like purebloods basically. I think that's what they're called in this universe, where you must be of Britannian birth and only that in order to like go to that school.
Sure.
And later on we'll see the narrative use that in its own way. Gotcha. Way later. I don't know if it'll be in this first 12 episodes, but the show does like not necessarily get away from it, but it at least uses it in more interesting ways. That's what I'm trying to say. The school bit does eventually get some weight added to it, whereas right now it seems and feels inconsequential.
For sure. The whole thing with Prince Clovis, we know he's the guy. He's the one. I hope nothing bad happens to him. The whole nightmare, poison gas, you already went over it. And the Ragnarok connection, whatever that is, I wrote that down.
That is definitely showed off. The Ragnarok connection, and he acquires the power of the kings.
And that's dope. I don't know her story. I don't know what's going on, especially after episode 4, which is a wild cliffhanger. But I don't know her story. I don't know why she was there. Is she chemically created? Is she an alien? Who knows? But him getting this power, also why she would give him this power, was okay. It was good enough. I think that her, her announcing like why. And for her, for him to do what she wants, the one thing that she wants, but we don't know what that is. Good setup for episode 1. Sure. I'm down, going along for the ride.
Just to give you this as well, the show I think opens on a woman with green hair.
Yes,
that's actually looking at the Suzaku and lelouch, and then before he falls into the truck, he has that little that little vision of somebody saying like, "Oh, I finally found you."
Finally found you. Yes.
So if anybody missed that, there you go.
Which I'm sure will come up later, which is fine. Episode 2, stage 2, the White Knight awakens. What happens in episode 2?
Lelouch quickly discovers that there are limits to his power. However, he quickly gets his hands on a Britannian nightmare and begins to plot against them. Suzaku was carrying a trinket on him that stopped the bullet from killing him, and the special unit offers him to test pilot their new nightmare frame. Lelouch contacts the revolutionaries and coordinates a counterattack effort using their help in combination with stolen nightmare frames. In a stunning maneuver, he is able to destroy the entire fighting force that had been deployed to Shinjuku. However, Suzaku would be deployed in the Lancelot Nightmare Frame, the first of its kind, and single-handedly destroys the resistance force and corners Lelouch, who was saved at the last second. Lelouch ejects his nightmare and heads to Clovis's personal carrier, where he uses his power to get into the command room one-on-one with Clovis, forcing him to order a ceasefire, revealing himself to be Clovis's brother, 17th in line to the imperial throne, Lelouch v. Britannia.
Woo. So in episode 1, a little on the nose by having Lelouch. Is this like a trope where if they're just really good at chess, they're the smart one? Because I mean, it gets the point across. I mean, I understood it that and they even talk about it in episode 1. He's like, I've gambled with everybody here, and they're always good for their money because they're nobles or whatever.
Mhm.
So
It's not only that, but specifically he does something that if you try to do in real chess will not work really, but he manages to pull it off somehow. He leads with his king, which
yeah,
is supposed to be more symbolic than the chess itself, but
gotcha.
also lends itself to that for sure.
Okay, makes sense. I saw it, but I was like, okay. But
Lead
he
with the
really
king.
did show his prowess on
Yeah.
the chessboard, which is now where all this is going down. Again,
he like while he was on the field and really opened up that window for Colin when she jumped on the train and bought her some time leading with the king. Clovis was just happy to sit in his command carrier and just whisk away all the petty squabbles at the behest of his special units forces, who said, "We'll go clean it up for you." And he was just like,
yeah.
"Good, cool, sounds good." And then he just thought that the day was won.
Again, I did write down here the blending of like new and old tech, because we do see the nightmares more in full force here. We do see that they have like wheels on them, which is really interesting movement, how they are grinding on the rails, how they're like using it to go up buildings a little bit and all that stuff. So I thought that was really cool.
No, yeah,
The
they're way more
mechanics of
maneuverable than they look, which is super
yes,
cool.
the mechanics of the nightmare is something that I'm consistently interested in, and really it seems really cool. Especially this new Lancelot. So I might have missed it, but why did they pick him?
Not only
Suzaku.
was he the one that came in to they were just helping
Because he
him
was
recover.
injured.
He was
Yes.
injured, so he was recovered, so that he was right there to ask. It's basically a throwaway line as he's zipping up his suit. You tested top in the class in all your simulator tests.
Sure, I heard that.
That's basically it, I think.
Okay. No, because they were like, we need a pilot. We need a pilot.
Yeah.
Can't anybody be a pilot though?
Well, yeah,
no?
anybody can be a pilot, but because they're testing this new frame, this new model, they specifically are trying to I think see its capabilities when running to at or near maximum output, and it's
Okay.
probably only a very experienced pilot that would be able to actually operate a nightmare at that level. Otherwise, they're
suppose.
probably going to be stumbling around and
Sure.
having a hard time even getting the thing up to gear or whatever.
That makes sense to me. But like when he was saying that there was 2 nightmares outside of him, I'm assuming piloted by people, and there was 2 of them right outside, and then they're like holding guns there, protecting, and then he's like, we need a pilot. There's no pilots around. And I was just like, but there's there's two people right there. But I mean, it did make sense that like they did like a background check on him. They're like, oh, hold on, wait, this guy's pretty good, so let's get him into Lancelot, see what he can do. I was just curious if there was anything more because I was just like,
think that's it.
Okay, whatever. Story moving forward.
Yeah.
So we get the sort of, I don't know their names. There's so many names. I'm not going to write them all down. The lead scientist group of characters. They have their own like little motive of what they're doing. We even hear that they have like secrets that we don't even know, because I think they're the ones that did the gas, right? They were the ones that were in charge of the gas.
The special forces unit.
Special forces unit
that tested the Lancelot is different than the research team that. So there's the research team, and then there's the special forces unit. The research team are the ones that did the girl and they're the gas as it's being posed.
Then who knows about that?
Only Prince Clovis, I think, knows what's actually in that thing, and the general and the research team. And that's why he was like, no, scramble the whole military, get it back, because nobody can know what we were working on.
Okay, yeah. Okay, now I remember. There's a lot going on here.
There's a lot going on.
And then we also see, it's so cool because we have these two characters, the introduction of Lelouch, and then we have Suzaku, and how they're connected, how they've been connected. But in these moments that they're constantly interacting, they don't know about each other. They don't know that they're confronting each other. And I feel like that's going to lead to something. And I'm cool with not knowing anything right now about how this ends. I want to see what happens, because in this moment where they in episode 1, they came together, they saw each other, they wanted to help each other. We know the initial love, we know the initial affection here. The second time we see them come together is when they're confronting each other. Mm-hmm. One doesn't know the other is in here. In Nightmares, in the Lancelot, they can only go off of by what they see. How the Lancelot did something strange by helping people. Everybody was like, "What? You saved a woman and child? That's crazy. Come back. You're sleepy or something. Yeah. Come back. You must be tired. What are you doing saving these people?" So in this episode, we see them facing each other again, but not knowing that they're each other. And then before the end of these 4 episodes, they face each other again, not knowing
Suzaku doesn't know that Zero, who is revealed, is Lelouch, but Lelouch knows full well that it's Suzaku that he's trying to save and bring to his side.
So it's so interesting what they're setting up, because when this happens, when Lelouch's, alias goes down, whenever we see the Lancelot fighting him and it goes down to be like, oh, it's Suzaku, the emotion there is going to be there. So I'm ready for that, and I'm mentally preparing, and I'm taking notes of every time they meet when they don't know they're each other, and the different different reactions based on like who knows who at the time. Hello, Cosmo. Welcome to the stream. We're talking about Code Geass. It's an interesting anime. And then we also find out that Lelouch is brothers with Clovis, who is related to Clovis in this way, and he did not stop at anything to try and figure out what's going on. Because is this the episode where they explain what happened to his mother? Okay, next episode. We'll talk about that. But confronts him, easily gets rid of him, easily gets to his helm, takes over everything, and it shows the power of what he can do.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting.
It's an incredible power, but it's also in the hands of who we, have seen demonstrate is an incredibly powerful mind. And that's the thing. Like he got the fighters, like all of those weapons, all of the devices, put them in their hands, and then he coordinated all of them to just, rout the entire enemy force. And even when they came out with like you didn't know about this with the Lancelot, he's like, oh, well, you didn't know about this, and just pulls out his little Geass trick, and it's
Cosmo said, so would you all be open to review nostalgia animes? Like what? What are you
Well,
talking?
that's what
What are
we're
you
doing
thinking?
right now.
Yeah, this one's pretty old. 2006, but there are older anime for sure. Is there one that you had in mind? Because
Put it in the
all of
chat.
the yeah, in case you're watching for the first time, hello, we do an anime podcast and we have a list of animes in the chest, and 500 bits gets you an anime, and they possibly will be pulled out and we'll review them in 3 episodes or less, or your money back. Just kidding, we're keeping the money. uh
Already spent
so
on chicken nuggets.
yeah. It's good that you bring that up, because I wouldn't know what to do with this power. Like, if I was in his situation, I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't have the thought. I'd be like, "Oh, this is crazy. I can have people do what they want or what I want them to do."
One time.
And one time, well, we don't know that
We
yet,
don't know
but
that yet, but
yeah.
yeah.
And I could possibly make a plan somehow, but him being the smart and the forward thinking,
Calculating.
calculated person that he is, he gets to where he needs to go and asks the right questions to the right people.
And he's
And
constantly asking himself. We see him like play out his thought process many times just in this episode, and he's constantly thinking, what are the problems keeping me from like accomplishing my goal? What's stopping me? What are the conditions that need to be met in order for me to get what I want? And
mhm,
that's what he does. He sets up conditions in order for things to fall into place exactly how he needs them to.
and he is good. Well, he's good at what he's doing. I'm pretty sure the story, I'm already thinking ahead. I'm pretty sure the story is setting it up to be like, is he actually morally good? Or where does he land on the morality
Yeah.
scale because of what of the things he'll probably do and the things that he is doing.
Yeah.
Cosmo said Speed Racer Gundam Caballeros del Zodaico, aka Saint Seiya. I've never heard of that last one.
Neither have
Uh,
I.
but is Speed Racer an anime?
Yeah.
Okay. But where do you even go? Where do you even start with Gundam? Like what's the Gundam? I know there was like 3 new ones that came out in the past couple years. Sure.
Is it Mobile Suit Gundam? Is that the first one? I don't
There's a
know.
couple of them. I don't know. So he does the
Wherever
thing.
wherever Cosmo wants us to start.
Yeah, sure. Saint Seiya is super popular in Latin America. I guess I got to look it up or send a YouTube link in the Discord so I can check it out because I never heard of it. I'm fake Latin, I guess. Episode 3, stage 3, the false classmate. What happens in episode 3?
Lelouch uses his power to interrogate Clovis and discovers who was behind the plotting of the murder of his mother before finishing Clovis off. Back at school, Lelouch participates in budgeting while constantly thinking back to his confrontation. Colin, the revolutionary that saved him prior, appears to be his classmate. Using his power, he confirms this. However, he also discovers it will only work on somebody once. We get an introduction to Nunnally, Lelouch's little sister, whom he wishes to change the world for. The research team that handled the girl in the orb is disbanded, and the general can't remember abandoning Clovis. Colin is in return suspecting that Lelouch may be the mysterious voice over the radio, and Lelouch attempts to confront her only to realize that she's joining the student council herself. Lelouch performs an outplay that leaves Colin concluding that Lelouch is not the voice, and everyone sees as it is broadcast that Suzaku is going to be the one blamed for the murder of Prince Clovis.
Sheesh. Claire says Matt says and finds out who was behind it. And in my head, a little thing pops up. It's a me, Mario. Yes, I will not do the voice. So we find out his mother is dead, made to look like terrorists. Clovis does confirm that some people know about it, but he does not. Made to look like the 11s killed his mother. Did I get that all correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
They wanted it to look like it was terrorists, but Lelouch knew that it was you people blaming Clovis and the like, and Clovis announces that it's basically his like older brother and older sister.
the introduction of pure blood and half breed words for, I guess, pure Bretonians, real Bretonians, and
And then the child of an 11 and a Bretonian.
yeah, and that also brings about a class system. So again, some more world building in this episode about how hierarchy of people. We also see the place that all the kids stay at, the one that Lelouch is staying at, how it's a big mansion of the principal, right? And how they're all just like, whatever, let's just go to school. Nothing's happening. Nothing on the TV is showing about all the bad that had happened in the past, and it's
Yeah,
all
and well,
good,
that's the
all
thing.
gravy.
We've already seen that because of the control of information, the whole event was blamed on terrorists detonating some sort of a like chemical device.
Mhm.
Even though it's like you step back for a second and it's like, how does a chemical device destroy a bunch of buildings?
Yeah.
Because it's
No.
the entire ghetto was destroyed,
Yeah.
bro. They were leveling buildings.
No.
Chemical
No.
device.
Yeah. Sure. And then everybody's just like, okay, and they're all mourning Clovis because they think he is the guy. Or I didn't see anybody pretending to like him or pretending to mourn him. Right? They're all pretty much behind this. I'm pretty sure we only saw the Bretonian side,
Yeah.
not of the 11 side. But um during his
More of
power,
an indifference, it seems like,
sure.
Yeah.
During his power, Lelouch's power, it's called the Geass, I guess, right? Like,
It
what
hasn't
is?
been called that yet
Okay,
canonically, but yeah,
sure.
it will become known as his Geass.
Okay, so the Geass can only be done on a person at once. He did a really funny bit with his teacher, which I thought was really funny. Again, they don't say what he's doing. He just does it, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, okay, so take note of that," because he just started off the thing, and I was like, "What is he? What are we doing here? What are we talking about? Talking to a teacher for?" And then, yeah, it was pretty cool. I really
Yeah,
like that scene.
he's
Um,
constantly plotting.
sure. And the one thing that I did pick up on, which I don't know if it's true or not, is that they don't remember what happens when they're under the spell.
That's what continues to be pushed.
Sure. That they just wake up and then they're like, okay, what are you doing here? Whatever.
Mhm.
I think if they're moved from another place, like uh what's the blue haired guy's name? I don't remember
The
his
one
name.
in the nightmare,
The one in the nightmare.
Jeremiah.
Jeremiah, if Jeremiah, because he went under the spell in episode 4, I think.
Yes.
Um, if he moves around and he's in a different spot than when he got by the Geass, then I'm pretty sure he would know, like, oh, what happened. But other than that, if they're
There'd be
staying in the
no
same
way. Yeah.
space, yeah, there's no way of, they're just talking face to face. They don't know what's happening, and they're like, okay, what's happening? So that's interesting for his power to be. I'm pretty sure that's going to be something that comes up later.
Mhm.
Well, see, I don't even know if it's just if there's like a time limit on it. Like you can't be under the power for 5 minutes. You did it once, there's a cooldown.
Yeah.
Or if he's already wasted his power on the one person, you could only be under the power once ever, and you already wasted it on this person. So I don't
Once
even
every
know that yet.
24 hours. What if it I'm sorry, what are you saying? Like, what if it is once
No,
every
like what
24
if
hours or something different?
no, what if it's just once ever? Like this person can only be under this power once,
Oh yeah,
and then that's
then
it.
you have to really make a good use of it.
Because I don't know if
Otherwise,
he knows that as well. He hasn't tried it on somebody that he's already done it on,
nope.
other than within 2 minutes,
Yep.
2 minute time
And
frame.
besides that, he's only had the power for like a day or two at this point.
Sure.
The flow of time is a little uncertain, but it could be maybe up to like a week or so. But
Yeah.
the show makes it seem like it's happened very recently because he's still having he's having nausea attacks over thinking back to the first person he probably ever killed, which is now Prince Clovis.
Yeah, which is big, which is
At
his
least
brother.
by his own hand. He technically killed those other guys, but he just told them to die.
Yeah.
And then they killed themselves.
No,
So
he was
I feel
holding the
like it would be
gun.
a little, subconsciously a little different.
Kind of different. We get introduced finally to Nunnally, who is with the maid here, who is blind, I'm assuming,
Hmm.
and in a wheelchair. And instantly, my first thought is she can't go under his power. Will they do something with that? I don't know. They have to. I mean, they put Chekhov's gun there. I
Yeah.
think something interesting could happen there. So I don't know. No, I've never seen the show, but I instantly was like, why is she this? Because narratively, it's could be something big and it could be interesting. If she's just that way to, to give more motivation for the main character, I'm okay with that. And that's fine. Or if she's just there because inclusivity, I'm cool with that. I'm okay. It doesn't have to be something, but that was instantly the first thing. You get somebody that can take over people from direct eye contact,
Yeah.
and then somebody cannot have direct eye contact.
Yeah.
That's more than a coincidence.
I didn't even think about that, honestly. I can't remember if the show ever really does something like that. And even if I could remember, I, wouldn't be
Wouldn't tell me.
too, yeah,
Okay.
wouldn't let you in on it. But that's a really good point to make, honestly.
Suzaku gets blamed for Clovis's death. Um, it's I don't
Hmm.
know.
Hmm.
Nobody are the different classes like just afraid of each other, or like they just don't want to stick their neck out for Suzaku, because we know that he was in the
The nightmare
Lancelot.
frame, yeah,
Yeah,
and that the special forces unit in the next episode, they say that they're like, well, we would, we tried, but our testimony was deemed inadmissible.
sure. Yeah.
So then it's Jeremiah who says something along the lines of like, we can't put the general on display for it because he's a Britannian, and then it looked like a Britannian killing a Britannian. So we're gonna make this guy take the fall. That way, it's an 11, and he's an honorary Britannian, basically just an 11. And now, if we do that, we can potentially make a ploy for not allowing any 11s to become honorary Britannians anymore, because look what happens when you do that.
Yeah.
That's
And it's
basically what's going
political
on with
for
it. Yeah,
sure.
it's political.
Okay.
It's a
Episode
political
4.
stunt. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Episode 4, stage 4. His name is Zero. What happens in episode 4?
Suzaku is interrogated in an attempt to get him to admit to the murder of Clovis. Meanwhile, Lelouch tells Nunnally that it's something that he would never do, as she worries for Suzaku. Ogi, the leader of the revolutionaries, doubts his ability to lead the cause, and the special unit is disappointed to see someone who gave them outstanding test results have to encounter this. Then seeing Suzaku will be made an example for all to see. Colin, Ogi, and some other revolutionaries meet up according to Lelouch's plan, him introducing himself to them as Zero, explaining that he will demonstrate his power. Ogi and Colin help him pull off a huge bluff in an attempt to save Suzaku. Lelouch pulling off his plan, also with the help of his power of kings. He takes the citizens hostage and forces Jeremiah to cover them in their escape. Lelouch invites Suzaku to join him in his quest to destroy Britannia, Suzaku declining, stating that if he doesn't go back, then more 11s will be hurt, and it will make him look even more guilty for the murder of Clovis.
And then we get this shot.
Oh, and then we get the girl showing up for a cliffhanger.
Where did he get the helmet?
Where indeed.
Looks cool. I'm down for him being this character. I'm down for him being Zero. Totally about it. Love the helmet. Super wild silhouette he has when he's just standing there. Love it. That Dracula vibe. Yes. Vampire given. Everything. Dig it. But don't know where he got it from. But it's kind of cool. Zero meets them for the first
Shogun
time.
tell.
Yeah. And I'm okay with that. Zero meets them for the first time, tells them what, takes charge, really. And he said that before he had his power, he was a different person. And when he first got this power, he was like, now I have this, and what do I have to lose? What is there to lose now? And I can just only go so far in doing what I can do. And I feel like that was setting up for him to go too far at some point, where he wants to get rid of Britannians so much, or to restore some order here in this takeover that's happening of Japan, that somehow he's going to go too far. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I feel like he needs to go that far, and it's just like, ugh, I, I'm a villain now. What's, oh man, but I don't know it. And the
Episode
other
1,
people,
a demon is born.
yeah, the other characters are going to have to hold him back. So ultimately, with this look, paired with his motive, paired with what he wants to do, I feel like I'm going to be on the side of calling him a villain at some point, uh, as well as everybody else in the show calling him a villain, all the Britannians there. I wrote down here, this is where I really wrote it down, where I said, this is a peculiar way of telling the story. They're talking around the subject and they're showing different things. They showed these guys. Don't know much about these guys.
Who will come to know as the JLF, the Japanese
Yeah.
Liberation Front.
Okay, cool. It's a lot like just chess pieces.
And but what's his name? Clovis in an earlier episode, when Lelouch pulled off the coup de grace, and like he was like, "Is this guy better than Toto?" And
that's him.
That could be him. We haven't met a Toto yet, have we?
I think they called him Toto in that. I don't know.
Then
I remember that.
Then
name.
It is Toto. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So he's this other general, like leader, that has obviously also put Clovis on his back foot before.
Again, I didn't know what I was expecting when I got into this anime, because I've only heard the name of it. But this is war. This is mech. This is chess pieces moving. This is a thinker. There's a lot of moving parts here. And I want to know how it resolves. I want to know who comes out on top, because we already saw Clovis. We already saw him die. We saw
we got
the
two names from him.
Sure. And we got the green hair girl that's not dead for some reason, because she is something. But I feel like we're going to lose a lot more people, especially because in the battles we are losing people. Like they're literally fighting, and people that we see we won't see again.
Some of them are being unalived, but some of them are hitting that little
eject button,
and then they just fly on out of there 200 300 yards the other direction, which I think is so funny how it just shoots all the way out and then the little parachutes come out of it. It's like
fall down. To get away from the danger.
It's just I'm sure in this type of a world especially, it might go against a new they might imply it as a, not imply it, but make it a war crime or something to go after a Nightmare's pilot before they hit the ground or something. But I just feel like, man, what a big target. Yeah, what a big target.
Just turn around and just because they literally just
nobody ever does it. So I'm just like, hey, if there's just some unspoken thing, so be it. Anyways,
so this whole plan to save Suzaku, threatening with the gas bomb, admitting that he killed Clovis. I didn't think he would get that far, and I didn't know what he was doing. I was like, what are you doing, man? What's going on? But he was trying to get Suzaku out of the whole issue, the whole thing. He was the one that was being blamed for it, and he's like, no, it's me. I'm this guy, Zero. You're gonna know me, you're gonna see me soon, and I'm threatening everybody here. And only a couple people know the full threat, or they think they know what the threat is. So he can use that to his advantage. I thought that was very smart, very a cool way to get out of it, because right now even though he has this power, he's shown as being very limited, but he takes big swings. And I like that. I like that as the main character that we're following, because we
It
know that he
sets
has
up
to
these
be,
crazy odds.
yes, against the crazy odds, because we know he has to be here for somebody for his power to work, but
But
he's
even then, it's
still,
like, what is he capable of doing with that one move that he can make against people? He needs
yeah,
to set up all the conditions so that way that one move is actually impactful.
yes. But we know he doesn't have like some sort of gun or some sort of other weapon that would means to harm. So him, I think, was super powerful for him to just stand there with all the people on the side, all the military looking at him in his outfit, and then he's like, "What do
Hey,
you got for
man,
me? Here I am,"
if
and
you
everything.
don't give me Suzaku, everybody's gonna know about Orange.
Yeah, like,
So you better do everything in your power to make sure we get out of here. Boom, Geass.
yeah. So
Like, everybody else is like, "What the fuck is
yeah.
Orange?"
What's happening? Is that a bomb? Wait, hold on. Why is that purple stuff coming out? Oh, what's going on? I just wanted to hang out on
And
the
then you
bridge
have
here.
the cameraman who's just like, everything's a show to him.
Yeah, and he's loving it. And
Yeah.
I think that's the start of him being on Zero's side somehow. Because he's not officially affiliated with anybody.
No, he's
He's
an
the camera
independent news
guy,
reporter, yeah.
news reporter guy, but he just so happens to be connected to
He's
Britannians.
like a
And
combination of Roberto and Meryl.
yes, and
Like, he wants the big
yeah,
scoop, but also he's like, "This there's a big scoop over there, but they're just fake.
yeah.
They're foo-foo." But he's like, "This Zero guy."
So I do like this character. I like him. He's very cool. But I think ultimately he's gonna somehow end up helping Zero at some point. But we get Suzaku ultimately saved, and he doesn't agree on the terms that Zero is giving him. And it makes sense for him. Doesn't make sense for Lelouch, Zero. I don't know. I think him not showing his face here is gonna hurt in the long run, because he probably could have shown his face here and said, "Hey, man, I'm your friend. This is it. I saved you. D- This is what I'm trying to
But
do here."
simultaneously, Suzaku even said, like, when Lelouch calls him a fool, he's like, I have a friend that, calls me the same thing all the time. And it just makes me think back to that day when, like, Lelouch said that he was going to one day destroy Britannia. It's like, if you see your best friend vow to do that, and then you grow up and decide to go into the Britannian military to become an honorary Britannian, it's just like, I think that split of ideals has long been there. And I
Okay.
think that even if he showed his face, Suzaku would then just, the tables would almost turn in maybe more, but it wouldn't simply be like, "Oh, you're my friend doing this, so now I agree with it." It's like, "No, you're in the wrong and you need to stop what you're doing. This is why." And then it just become a debate with Suzaku trying to get Lelouch to pull away. I think. I mean, I'm not the writer, but I feel like that their characters have that just that split of ideals that's been
Sure.
baked into them for a long time, probably. And it could be a case of nature versus nurture, whereas we learned that Suzaku was the son of like a Japanese prime minister, so maybe he has some sort of a pride that he's trying to uphold for his country, or not pride that he's trying to uphold, but like he has a sense of duty or something along those lines. And Lelouch is more maybe his goals are more personally motivated because he just wants to destroy Britannia because they
Uh,
killed his mom,
yes. And those are two very different situations.
that have just been set up so far. I know
Sure.
where this show goes.
Yeah.
So
No, no, no. I mean,
I'm
that
treading carefully.
that provides great context, because yeah, I didn't think about that, where even when they were kids, when they were younger, they knew what they wanted, but then he grew up to be something, and Lushby grew up to be something else. And they hadn't, really talked a whole lot. I'm assuming they kind of separated paths there. So I definitely want to learn more. It makes me want to know what's going on and how their relationship, more than anything, I want to know how their relationship grows, because they are fundamentally different in how they want to tackle this situation. which is Britannia, which is Area 11, which is the higher ups and everything. So
How do we
I'm cool.
change? How do we save everyone? How do we change the world? How do we
Yes.
change this place? Suzaku wants to do the right thing and play by the rules, and Lelouch wants to tear it all down and build it all back again. At least
Mainly
that's what
because,
we see.
sure, because I think Suzaku has hope, because I think he can see, or he thinks that if there's a way to do it. Like, never mind. I don't want to bring it. I'm not going to bring something up. I was, something that's I see a lot here in Texas is like, the whole, illegal immigrant sort of thing, where people are saying like there is a way to get a green card. Yeah, but it's 7 years that you don't have it, that you're working towards doing a bunch of stuff. And whereas it could be just easier just to, just be here and do it illegally. So it's not the same, but I can see, I'm looking at it in that lens, where it's like Suzaku thinks there is a way to do it. It may take longer, it may not end up right, but there is a way to change this place, and I'm gonna try and change it the right way. Whereas Lelouch just wants to burn it down
Yeah,
because of everything that has happened, and he doesn't want to see it happen anymore.
from what we've seen so far, that's what the show is setting up.
And I'm cool and I'm down and I want to see what happens. There's a lot to talk about,
So
a
much.
lot going on in this political war game of
Mech.
Code Geass. Matt, when you are not inside a nightmare, where can they find you?
You can find me on my Twitch at Matt_Galley, streaming video games. Follow me on my socials, just add an underscore at Matt_Galley. And when we're not here peeling back all the layers of Code Geass, where can the people find you?
Jules the Human at JULES the Human on all social media, on Instagram, on X, youtube.com/Jules the Human to watch these videos. I post them up on Fridays, so you can watch them. If you missed any of the episode, you can watch them over there. You can watch these podcasts on Spotify, you can watch the video. We have video up there. And I'm mainly playing a lot of Honkai and Aether Gazer, and it's a lot of fun. And I got a free Dr. Ratio. So if you're playing Honkai, you get a free character if you log in today. So go do it.
Ratioed.
His name's Dr. Ratio, and he does this. It's pretty funny. But next week, we're going to be talking about 5 through 8 of Code Geass. So watch episode 5 through 8. Talk about it in the Discord with us. Want to hear your thoughts. And thank you, everybody, for joining in the Twitch live chat. Appreciate y'all. And we'll see y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye.